morning, I'm Brandon from Bright Arrows Ranch, and today is the day. Today is the day that we're going to replace the knuckle on the Vio-75 Excavator. So we're very excited about this. The knuckle is in the box there. We have to remove the boom main pin, the boom cylinder bottom pin, the boom cylinder top pin, the boom swing pin, and then we'll move everything out of the way and can take the knuckle main pin out. We'll have to disconnect the hydraulic connections on the back of the boom to achieve this, and then we can set the boom off to the side while we do the pins and bushings for the knuckle. Okay, so at this point I'm just going to talk over the video, but first and foremost I want to thank my buddy Cal for coming to help me do this project. Cal is a good friend of mine. He's a diesel mechanic, works on heavy equipment for a living, and we've got a good friendship, and he was very gracious to come up and help me with this project. So here we are, we've disconnected the boom lift cylinder. Now we're taking the hydraulic connections off the back of the boom. And I just want to say, like, this is something I've done in the past, but doing it at your house, it's a whole different feeling than when you're in a shop or you're at a garage or something like that. But we've got the hydraulic connections pulled apart, and we're going to be disconnecting the pins. So we've got the boom swing cylinder disconnected, and we've got the boom main pin ready to drive out. So here we've got the skid steer coming up to support the boom. We're going to drive that pin out and then lift the boom up and set it off to the side. Now, granted, I know that my footage isn't the highest quality, and I recognize that. I know that the lighting, the angles, I don't have a full camera crew to help me with this, so we're self-filming while we're trying to get the work done. So with most of my videos, the work comes first, so the priority has to be to get the work done, but we have the privilege and the ability to capture some of it on film and share it with you too. My boom is just going to freestand here. We're going to get it a little bit shimmed up to keep it from being unstable. But it's pretty secure once it's sitting there on the ground. You get a little bit of cribbing underneath the bucket, get it blocked a little bit so it's not so tippy. As you can see, the knuckle has a crack run all the way through it. So the top pin, where the pin goes through the top portion of the knuckle, and where the pin goes through the bottom portion of the knuckle, is separated by that giant crack. So once we remove that pin, it's a vertical pin, about 3 inches in diameter, and once we pull that pin out, then the two parts of the knuckle just come right out of there. So we've got the top half pulled out, and now we're going to slide the bottom half out of there, get it set off to the side. Broken bottom half. Now I elected not to put new bushings in the machine side of the knuckle assembly. The new knuckle came with new bushings in it, and the bushings that were installed in the machine side of the connection were still in really good shape. So I had bought new bushings for it, but I was short one component, and so rather than disturbing what was there, since it was in such good condition, I elected just to leave it alone, and we'll use the new knuckle that has the new bushings in it for that portion, and put the new pin in, and everything turned out to be really tight, so it worked out really good. Now we got shims that go in between all the layers where the knuckle attaches to the machine. So we're getting the shims installed to keep everything really, really tight so there's not undue motion or wiggle room there. And then you see the new knuckle fully installed with the new main pin. And obviously we got a lot of cleaning up to do on the machine itself from the leaky cylinders that we have previously repaired some of them, and we've got one more that we're going to do in this video. There's the new knuckle fully installed. So the next step is to get the boom back in place, and we got to get everything aligned properly. And then, like I said before, the shims are what keep everything from sliding around or wiggling or kind of pounding back and forth. So the shims help keep things tight. They're hard to get lined up, but it's definitely worth putting them back in there. So we're getting the holes all lined up, and we're going to shove that pin through there. There he is, putting the shim in now. Such a tight fit already, but using the shims to put pressure on everything, it just keeps everything from being sloppy and helps prevent things wearing out premature. There the pin goes. Now, because I had so much footage from this project, it took an entire day to do this job. I've condensed the footage down, but I wanted to try and get a continuous view of the whole project. But to accomplish this into a video, I've sped up the footage about 6 times normal speed, just so you can see all the steps that we go through to change this knuckle. You can see all the steps, but without taking 8 hours to watch a video. And that's a new pin there as well, new shims, and the bushings that were in the boom were in good shape, and so I wasn't real worried about replacing those. Well, there it is. The knuckle is pinned back on. Boom is pinned on. Still got to repack the boom cylinder. I did go ahead and install the new bushing and seals in the end of the boom lift cylinder. I don't know if I can get that pin out. You can see the new bushing in there, all brand new. Very exciting. So next we're going to mount that cylinder back on the knuckle and then let it just rest onto a tree stump or something. And we can unscrew that cap and pull that rod out and repack that cylinder while we're going back together. And then we'll put that back up, hook the hoses and lines up, hook up the boom swing cylinder, check the oil level, and we'll be ready to go. So for further insight on how to repack a hydraulic cylinder, you can check out my other video on my channel titled Yanmar 75 Cylinder Repack. And this I'm not going to explain a whole lot with the repacking. It's just going by really fast. But I will say this: the reason we're putting the cylinder back on the machine before we take the cylinder apart is there's nothing better to hold a cylinder in place and to keep it from rotating when you're trying to disassemble it than the machine itself. Rather than trying to clamp the cylinder in a vise or hold it down to a table while you're disassembling everything, putting it back on the machine allows the machine to hold it in place. Here we are taking the spanner nut off. We'll pull that rod out, break it down, and replace the seals. This cylinder happened to leak externally whereas the other 2 cylinders I repacked were only bypassing internally. So this has a bad packing seal on the outside there, and so it was just pouring hydraulic oil as it was being used. And so I knew I had to repack it. I wasn't gonna let this opportunity go by to repack it while I was doing all this work. And then here we are. We hang the rod from the boom, the pin that holds the cylinder to the boom. We just hang the rod from right there, and that keeps the rod, like I said, stationary while we're breaking the nut loose that holds the piston on the end of the rod. Here's my hydraulic torque wrench. I got a nice pipe wrench with a chain and a skid steer track loader. But we got that nut broke loose. We're going to take the rod now, or the piston and the cap, and over to the bench and put new seals in it. So while Cal's working on the gland, which is like the cap that screws onto the end of the barrel, I'm working on changing the wear bands and seals on the piston. When we get done with both of these, we'll be able to put that rod back together and then put it back into the cylinder barrel. I do use Loctite on the gland nut inside the hydraulic cylinder, just so there's no chance that vibration and things like that could cause that nut to unscrew and let the piston come off the end of the rod. You don't want anything to come apart inside a cylinder, or it can create so much damage that it's unrepairable. You can also send metal and debris through your hydraulic system and contaminate your hydraulic system. So even though we're working outside, we're taking great care to make sure that our components are clean where they go together. Anything that's internal on the hydraulic system, we make sure it's very clean when we put it back together. Here the rod is being inserted back into the barrel, getting the gland tightened back down, or the barrel cap tightened back down. We're going to hook the hydraulic connections up for the boom lift cylinder and for the rest of the boom. That way we can turn the engine on the excavator and use the controls to get that boom lift cylinder extended where it needs to be to get the pin back in the hole where it connects to the boom. Same with the boom swing cylinder. You just saw right there on the lower left corner of the screen. We'll use the engine running and run the controls to get that cylinder in position so everything lines up perfectly when we put the pins back into place. So here I am running the controls, and Cal's giving me some directions. We've got a ratchet strap wrapped over the boom to hold the cylinder up while we're getting it into position and get it all lined up, and then we can put the pin back in. The boom swing cylinder is controlled with a foot pedal that's off to my right when I'm sitting in the operator station. So I'm just reaching in through the front there and moving that control lever, that foot pedal, to get that cylinder stroked into position where it needs to be. So now, here we go, the first test. Got the machine running, got the boom connected, all the lines are hooked up, all the pins are in and secure. She's good to go. I want to tell you guys, I really appreciate you watching my videos and sharing along with me in the projects that I do. I do want to ask, if you could, please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and share them. If you share them on your social media, that really helps out, and I do appreciate it. I'm Brandon from Bright Arrows Ranch. Thanks for watching.